All right, guys, let's continue on with Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, The Sorrows of Young Werther, June 16, the 16th of June. Why have I not written to you? You who are a learned man too ask a question like that. You might guess that things are well with me, and indeed, in a word, I have made an acquaintance who has touched my heart very closely. I know not what. I shall scarcely be able to tell you how I grew acquainted with one of the most lovable of creatures. I am in good spirits and happy, and therefore not the best of storytellers. An angel, rot! Every man says that about his beloved, does he not? And yet I am unable to tell you how and why she is perfection itself. Suffice to say that she has captivated me utterly. So much simplicity with so much understanding, so much goodness and so much resolve, and tranquility of soul together with true life and vitality. Everything I am telling you about her is fearful twaddle, tiresome abstractions that do not express a single trait of her being. Some other time, no, not another time, I shall tell you it right now. I shall tell it you right now. If I don't do so now, I never will. For between ourselves, since I started writing, I have already been 3 times on the point of laying down my pen, having my horse saddled and riding out. And yet I vowed this morning that I would not go riding, and nonetheless I go to the window every moment or so to see how high the sun still is. I couldn't resist it. I had to go to see her. Here I am again, Wilhelm, about to eat my supper and write to you. What joy it is for my soul to see her amidst those dear, cheerful children, her 8 brothers and sisters. If I go on like this, you will know as much when I am through as you did at the start, so lend an ear and I shall force myself to give you the details. Recently I wrote that I had become acquainted with S, the estate officer who invited me to visit him soon at his retreat, or rather in his little kingdom. I neglected to do so and perhaps would never have gone if chance had not revealed to me the treasure that lies concealed in those peaceful parts. The young people here are the young people here had arranged a ball out in the country, and I gladly agreed to be one of the party. I asked one of the local girls, a good, pretty, and otherwise insignificant girl, to be my companion, and we planned that I should take a carriage and drive out to the scene of the festivities with my dancing partner and her aunt, picking up Charlotte S. on the way. You will be getting to know a beautiful young woman, my companion informed me as we drove through the vast wooded park to the hunting lodge. Be on your guard, put in the aunt, and take care not to fall in love. Why? I asked. She has already promised to a very worthy man, she replied, who has gone away to put his affairs in order following the death of his father and to see about a decent position. This information left me pretty much indifferent. The sun was still a quarter hour from touching the mountains as we drove up at the gate of the courtyard. It was very sultry, and the ladies voiced fears of the thunderstorm that appeared to be approaching on the horizon, where dank, whitish gray clouds were gathering. I set their minds at rest by affecting expertise in matters of the weather, though all the time I was myself beginning to suspect that our pleasures would be dealt a blow. I'd got down, and the maid who came to the gate asked for a moment's indulgence and said Mamselle Lottchen would be with us right away. I crossed the courtyard to a well-built house, and climbing the flight of steps in front, opened the door and beheld the most charming scene I had ever set my eyes on. In the hallway, 6 children aged between 11 and 2 were milling about a girl with a wonderful figure and of medium height, wearing a simple white dress with pink ribbons at the sleeves and breast. She was holding a loaf of rye bread and cutting a piece for each of the little ones about her, according to their age and appetite. She handed out the slices with great kindliness, and the children reached up their little hands long before the bread was cut, cried out their artless thanks, and then either bounded away contented with their supper, or in the case of the quieter ones, walked tranquilly out to the courtyard gate to look at the strangers in the carriage in which their lot was to drive away. Do forgive me for putting you to the trouble of coming in, she said, and for keeping the ladies waiting. Well, with dressing and seeing that all will be well in the house in my absence, I forgot to give my children their supper, and they won't have their bread cut by anyone but me. I paid her some unimportant compliment. My entire soul was transfixed by her figure, her tone, her manner, and I barely had time to recover from my surprise when she ran into the parlor to fetch her gloves and fan. The little ones gazed at me from a distance with sideways glances, and I went up to the youngest, a child with the happiest of features. He was just shying away as Lottie re-entered and said, Luis, shake your cousin's hand. Or Louis, shake your cousin's hand. The lad did so very willingly, and in spite of his running little nose, I could not resist giving him a hearty kiss. Cousin, I asked, offering her hand, do you really think me worthy of the happy fortune of being related to you? Oh, she said with an easy smile, we have a lot of cousins, and I should be sorry to think you the worst of them. As she left, she told Sophie, a girl of about 11 and the eldest sister after herself, to take good care of the children and to give her love to Papa when he returned from his ride. To the little ones, she said that they were to obey their sister Sophie as if it were herself, and some of them expressly promised to do so. However, one cheeky little blonde girl of about 6 said, but she isn't you, Lachin, and we like you more. So Lachin. The two eldest boys had clambered on to the back of the carriage, and at my request she allowed them to ride with us as far as the woods, as long as they promised not to get up to any mischief and hold on tight. We had scarcely settled in our seats, and the ladies had hardly greeted each other, passed comments on each other's attire, and especially their hats, and made the usual review of the company that was expected. Then Lottie had the coachman stop and her brothers get down. They then desired to kiss her hand once again, which the elder did with all the tenderness of a 15-year-old, and the other with considerable vehemence and abandon. Sent her love to the little ones once again, and we drove on. Or she sent her love to the little ones, and we drove on. The aunt asked if she had finished the book she had recently sent her. No, said Lottie, I do not like it. You can have it back. The one before was no better either. I was astounded on asking which books they were and being told. This little star right here. It has been thought necessary to suppress this passage in the letter so that no one may have cause for complaint, though at bottom the opinion of some girl or of a young unstable man can mean little to any author. So I was astounded on asking which books they were and being told. I found great character in everything she said, and with every word I saw fresh charms and radiance of spirit brightening her features, which gradually took on a contented appearance since she could feel that I understood her. When I was younger, she said, there was nothing I loved better than novels. God knows how good it felt to be able to sit in some corner on a Sunday and share with my whole heart and Miss Jenny's happiness and sorrows. Nor do I deny that kind of writing still has its charms for me. But since I so rarely come by a book, it has to be one that is quite to my taste, and I like that author best who shows me my own world. Conditions such as I live in myself, in a story that can engage my interest and heart as much as my own domestic life does, which is certainly no paradise, but is still on the whole a source of inexpressible happiness. She's a happy person. I tried to conceal the moving effect these words had on me. True, I was not able to do so for long, for as soon as I heard her speak in passing with such truth of the Vicar of Wakefield and of here too the names of a number of our fatherland's authors have been omitted. I could no longer contain myself, told her everything I had to say, and only after some time had passed, when Lottie included the others in the conversation, did I notice that they had been sitting there goggle-eyed the whole while and behaving as if they were not there at all. On several occasions the aunt looked at me with a derisive twitch of the nose, but I care nothing for it. The talk turned to the pleasures of dancing. Even if it is wrong to have a passion for it, said Lottie. I gladly confess that there was nothing I like better than dancing, and if I am worried about something, I hammer out a country dance on my out-of-tune piano and everything is all right again. Knowing me as you do, you can imagine how I delighted in her dark eyes during this conversation, how my entire soul was drawn to her young lips and fresh bright cheeks, and how I was so absorbed in the splendid meaning of her words that I scarcely registered the way she expressed herself. In short, when we drew up before the house, I got down from the carriage as if in a dream, and was so lost in dreams in that dusky world that I hardly heard the music that sounded across from the brightly lit ballroom above. Mr. Audran and a certain N.N. who can remember all these names, who were the aunts and Lottie's partners, met us at the carriage door and took charge of their ladies, and I led my own up and in. We twined about each other in minuets. I asked one lady after another for a dance, and of course the most unbearable of all could not bring themselves to offer their hands and leave off. Lottie and her partner began an English country dance, and you can imagine how good I felt when it was their turn to dance to figure in our row. You should see her dance. So he's telling Wilhelm, you should see her dance. Her whole heart and soul are in it. You see, in her body is all harmony, so carefree and relaxed, as if there were nothing else, as if she had not a single other thought or sensation. And in that moment, undoubtedly, everything else ceases to exist for her. I asked her for the second country dance. She promised me the third and assured me with the most engaging openness that she loved dancing the allemande. It is the custom here, she went on, for couples that are together to dance the allemande together. But my partner is a poor waltzer and will be grateful if I relieve him of his duty. Your lady cannot do it either and does not care for it, but I noticed during the English country dance that you waltzed well, so if you would like to be my partner for the allemande, I suggest you request it of my gentleman and I shall propose it to your lady. We shook hands on this and arranged that our partner should entertain mine in the meantime. Now things really started, and for a while we took delight in the various graceful motions of our arms. What grace and ease were in her movements. We now began to waltz, sweeping about one another like these spheres, and I grant, pretty confused at the outset, since very few were able to dance it properly. We had our wits about us and let the rest wear themselves out, and when the clumsiest of them had quit the floor, we fell to and acquitted ourselves famously alongside another couple, Audran and his partner. Never in all my life have I danced so well. I was no longer a mere mortal, holding the most adorable of creatures in my arms and flying about with her like lightning, so that I forgot everything about me. And Wilhelm, to be honest, I swore that a girl I loved and had a claim on should never waltz with anyone but me, not even if it cost me my life. You take my meaning? We took a few turns about the ballroom to recover our breath, then she sat down and was most refreshed by the oranges I had put aside and which were now the only ones left, though every piece she politely shared with the greedy woman beside her put a dagger through my heart. We were the second couple in the third English country dance as we were going down the row, and I, with God knows how great an ecstasy, was gazing at her arms and eyes, which were alive with the warmth of the purest, most genuine pleasure. We passed a woman who had struck me on account of her amiable expression. Though her face was no longer quite young, she looked at Lottie with a smile, raised a warning finger, raised a warning finger, and as she flew by, uttered the name Albert twice and in a very significant tone. Who is Albert? I said to Lottie, if it is not impertinent to ask. She was about to answer when we were obliged to separate to dance the grand figure of eight, and I thought I saw signs of pensiveness on her brow as we crossed each other's path. Why should I hide it from you? She said as she gave me her hand for the promenade. Albert is a dear, honest man to whom I am as good as engaged. Now, this was no news to me since the girls had told me on the way, yet nonetheless it was utterly new to me as I had not yet connected the thought with her who had come in so short a time to mean so much to me. In brief, I was confused, forgot what I was at, and blundered into the wrong people so that everything was in disarray, and Lottie's entire presence of mind and tugging and pulling were needed to restore a hasty order. The dance had not yet finished when the lightning, which we had seen flaring on the horizon for some time, and which I had pronounced to be merely sheet lightning, began to flash more violently, and the thunder to drown out the music. Three ladies fled the rows, followed by their gentlemen. The confusion became general, and the music ceased. If something distressing or terrible surprises us in our pleasures, it naturally makes a more powerful impression on us than at other times, partly because the contrast affects us very keenly, and partly and more importantly because our senses have been opened to feelings and we are the more susceptible to impressions. To such causes I must ascribe the remarkable grimaces made by several of the ladies. The cleverest sat in a corner, her back to the window, and held her hands over her ears. A second knelt before her and buried her head in the first lady's lap. A third shoved in between the two of them and embraced her little sisters, shedding 1,000 tears. Some wanted to go home, others still less aware of what they were about did not even have the presence of mind to rein in their young gallants, who seemed extremely busy lapping up fearful prayers from the lips of lovely unfortunates, prayers intended for heaven. Some of the gentlemen had gone downstairs to smoke a pipe in peace and quiet, and when the hostess had the bright idea of suggesting moving to a room with shutters and curtains, none of the rest rejected her offer. We were scarcely there, but Lottie was busy setting out a circle of chairs, and once the company was seated, as she requested, she proposed that we play a game. I saw one or two of the gentlemen licking their lips and stretching their limbs in hopes of some delicious forfeit. Let's play counting, she said. Listen carefully. I shall go around the circle anti-clockwise, and you all keep count, everyone saying his number in turn, but at top speed, mind, and anyone who hesitates or says the wrong number gets a clip round the ear, and so on up to 1,000. It was a hilarious sight. She went round the circle with her arms stretched out. One, began the first. Two, said his neighbor. Three, the next, and so forth. Then she began to go faster and faster till one missed his number. Smack! His ears were boxed, and amidst the laughter came the next smack, and ever faster. I myself was slapped twice, and took great pleasure in supposing them heartier slaps than she gave the others. The game dissolved into all-around laughter and merriment before we had reached 1,000. Those who were intimate withdrew separately. The storm had passed over, and I followed Lottie into the ballroom. On the way, she said, boxing their ears put the storm and everything clean out of their minds. I could make no reply. I was one of the most afraid myself, she continued, and in pretending to be brave, to stiffen the others' courage, I found my own courage. That's what Lottie said. We went to the window. The thunder was passing by, and a wonderful rain was falling on the land. Filling the warm air with the most refreshing fragrance, she stood there resting on her elbows, gazing deep into the country about us. She looked to the heavens and at me, and I saw there were tears in her eyes, and she laid her hand on mine and said, Klopstock. At once I remembered the glorious ode she had in mind, and was lost in the sensations that flooded me on hearing the name. It was more than I could bear. I bowed over her hand and kissed it, shedding tears of the greatest joy, and once again looked up to gaze into her eyes. Noble poet, if only you had seen the adoration of you in those eyes, and if only I might never hear again your oft profane name. Klopstock. Not sure who that is. I guess some poet.